What's up, guys? It is John, the Game Master Guys here.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Pureheart1777.
And welcome to a Halloween special here at this channel. Once again, we have something that's a bit exciting here, and something I've actually never done before. I actually never expected to do this, honestly, but since it's October and all, we present you Pokemon Lost Silver.
Alright, now to get started with the story, people. You see, this starts off with a college kid who is poor, who couldn't purchase the game Soulsilver on launch date. So he was able to purchase it the semester that after the semester ended on Amazon. Although, due to the save file just keeps crashing, his mom threw away the cartridge along with the game. So what he did is he went to Gamestop, and for $10, he was able to purchase one used copy of Pokemon Silver for the Game Boy Color. And so he went home and he started up his nostalgia trip. However, that's when things started getting bizarre, and most likely the reason why you read this. Now, as you saw from the very beginning, the Game Freak logo started up as normal, but it just froze there. He thought the cart was just an error or something, so he turned it on and off, but the same thing happened. He tried pressing A and started over and over, and all the buttons. Eventually, the logo vanished, and there was a black screen for about 5 seconds. So where John is right now, to start off, when you looked at his profile, it shows that he had 999 hours put into the game, with all 16 badges, and infinite, or 99999 $9 and he had all 251 Pokemon in his Pokedex. And seeing as he apparently had Mew and Celebi logged as well, I guess he either used a Game Genie or was really hardcore Pokemon player back then that had this game. So he checked to see what his badass team is. And as you can see, all he has is 5 unknowns and a 6th Pokemon named Hurry, named Cyndaquil. And you're thinking it was some cruel joke by the person who played this game. But he decided to check the profiles of those Pokemon anyway. And as expected, the different letters of unknown, all level 5. It was a bit shaky, because if you read all 5 of the unknown letters, it reads leave.
Leave, hurry. So it basically spelled out.
Well, every unknown has a different letter. And with all of them, all 5 spell out leave. And the Pokemon named Hurry, which is the Cyndaquil that I described earlier. And you don't, in having enough of the team, you close it and you parked at where he is right now, the inside of Bellsprout Tower. There were no NPCs around. Even more eerie that the pillar in the middle didn't move at all, as if it was just leaning on its side. There's no music at all. There's no exit, no ladder. Or at least he thought he wasn't. So he walked around for a few minutes. So John was able to go into the pillar. Although when you checked your items, you try checking for an escape rope, but everything in your bag is completely empty. There is no wild Pokemon anywhere either. The screen has turning black at this very moment, and guess what? The music is finally playing. John's having a little sudden chill, but he recognized that melody he heard to be the theme you hear when you listen to the radio at the Alph Ruins where the unknown are at. You immediately realized that it wasn't a loading transition, but you rather were in a dark room and would need flash. Before you took care of that, you immediately checked your Pokegear to change the radio to something more pleasant. But it turns out that there was no radio card, or even a phone nor time card. There was only a map card, in which Gold from earlier, and he called him Gold from now on, or was just walking in the midst of black. He recalled that Cyndaquil used Flash, so he turned off the Pokegear and made Cyndaquil use Flash. As you can see, like right now, it didn't see any message saying Hurry has used Flash or anything like that. The room just became lit. So where you're going, as you're going down, You notice that it's getting darker, like it's showing blood red with a gray linear path heading south. You had no choice but to head south. This screen kept going dark for 20 steps you took, until you made it to the end, and the message read, "Turn back now." You suddenly answered as yes or no, but there was no question asked. You chose yes, as I do not know what it was asking, and the screen went black again, making a louder climbing sound. The unknown radio music stopped, and in a few seconds was replaced with the not as creepy Poke Flute radio music. He was in another room, dark room, but he was held by his breath and he used flash again. Suddenly, it said that hurry. Just waiting. And you were in the wall of rooms with gray bricks, as if something that was hollow out. Outside appears to be a bunch of graves similar to the ones that you've seen in Pokemon Red and Blue. You walked around and you pressed A. Nothing happened. You concluded the game was clearly hacked, and some sadistic fuck sold it to GameStop. John keeps going. But then, it seems that after a few minutes of aimlessly wandering, his character spun, just like you saw, and did the escape rope spinning animation. And instead of flying through, his character spun downward slowly, as if sinking. So after that, the music stopped. After finally landing, as you can see where John's going, he's going north. So, if you check his profile, while now it's white with a complete sprite, as you can see right there, your character has no arms, no legs, and his face is completely, the pupils are dripping blood red. This is where it gets a little creepy, because if you go and check your Pokemon, notice that the unknowns are level 15 and spell out the word dying. And check out Celebi's profile. It's now a shiny Celebi, except there's only half of the sprite. One leg and one arm, like I mentioned, one eye, and it had only one attack. Perish Song. Now, the area where you were, John's head inside, is the Sprout Tower. So everything is red now. He keeps walking north. He eventually encounters some generic men and women NPCs. And there's also... And without even pressing A, John is engaged in a battle. So, he brings out a Pikachu named with level 255. Kinda OP, considering Pokemon can only be level 100. So John brings out his shiny level 100 Celebi. And what you see right now is what's happening. So in 3 turns, both Pokemon will be dead. Okay, so now John is going to be telling you what's going on and how he's doing right now.
This is pretty disturbing, I'm not gonna lie. I may have seen gameplay of this, but this is actually kind of creepy. Oh.
And John used Pain Split. So Pikachu is going to use Mean Look. Not like that, it did anything. And as you expected to do the effects of Parasong, his Celebi fainted. Except there is a text that said Celebi had died. And instead of the ordinary drop-off of the screen animation, the Celebi's back sprite just vanished. For some reason, the Pikachu was still up when the Parasong, and it didn't count as a loss. And Pikachu used Destiny Bond. It said the Pikachu had died. And now where John is right now, he's back in the overworld, with another change to the gold sprite. He's now as transparent as Red's overall sprite. He quickly checked the profile. And as you can see, his entire sprite is only his head, and still the bloodshed tears. There's no body, no arms, no legs, just the head only. Now, and as you can see, they're all level 20 shiny unknowns now, and they all spell out no more. And now you don't know what is next to the end, so there's no music playing. For some reason, you felt something that could be heard. You're back in your room in New Bark Town, but as you keep going south, nothing is happening, and you encounter an NPC. Now, what's going on is that NPC is you. Goodbye forever. Known use Nightmare. And John's spinning out of control. He's now back into that gravestone. Actually, no. Let me see here. You're back into the small hollow room, or at least you can say you were back there, but there's no sprite anymore. John's trying to walk around. There's nothing. Not even a bumping wall. He checked his trainer profile with... Wait, you checked your trainer's profile?
Well, I forgot to check it, but as soon as I checked it, I accidentally closed it out and it just shows up RP. Basically, if you check the trainer card, it shows nothing.
Yeah, he had 0 badges, and all the pictures of the Johto gym leaders at the bottom were replaced with skulls. He checked his Pokemon, they were all level 25 unknowns, and it all spelled out, I'm dead. And as soon as you went back to the old world, the room that you supposedly recovered with the same blocks as the walls, and you figured out that the exact room, the final text, it reads, R.I.P. That room was a big grave, surrounded by other graves. Gold has already been dead. He died presumably a few years after he defeated Red. He was a young trainer who, despite his efforts in collecting so many badges and attempts at becoming a Pokemon Master, unlike Ash Ketchum, was still unable to avoid the inevitable fate of death, and his efforts were eventually forgotten by the next generation. John is unable to escape from that text no matter what button he pressed. He's going to try to reset the game. And then, what happens is the same thing happened, in which he finally decided to give up on that horrible nightmare. So, after John has that experience, he will never look at the gimmick unknown the same way again. As they say, the first generation have folk tales and legends, but the second generation had shown him how unpleasant the truth can be. He eventually enjoyed Soulsilver, but he can't unthink that rigged game has told him, which was Lost Silver. And in the game, in the early September 2010, the one thing that you see, the entire gameplay that you've seen, is a complete fan-made game of Lost Silver that John was playing. And if you choose no, you have different effects that can happen, and it can lead you to some horrifying other things. Well, if you choose no, then it's made-up edition by the fans. That was made up by the original writer in response to the creator of the fan game. So, he really doesn't even tell you the story if he says no. Because he only chose yes. If you were to choose no, something different would happen, but not even to the reader, because the reader would no longer want to play that game. But John decided to go with the story, and just choose yes. If we chose no, then we have a different dialogue that was made fan-made. So, how we are actually going to describe the story about what happens if you choose no, that is up for you to play the game, and not for us. We thought we were going to choose an alternative path. However, you guys have that decision to choose no, and see what horror has in store for you in Pokemon Lost Silver. The game that that is possibly a never actual cartridge that was probably destroyed in a fire, or it's somewhere out there where a famous Pokemon fan or collector has it locked in a not burned cage, but has it locked up in a box that can never be opened.
Wow. So, is that all?
Yep. I was just adding in a little bit more dramatic there at the end, but that was Lost Silver. And John, first of all, you give your opinion about the game.
Well, so far, actually the game and the story itself. Basically, I believe Lost Silver was actually I think it's actually the very first creepypasta I've ever listened to in my life, actually. Because I was just doing some random YouTube video watching back then, and then randomly I found this Lost Silver thing as a creepypasta, and I was like, what the heck is that? So I clicked on it and listened to the story. The story was actually interesting to me back then. I was like around in middle school when I listened to this, like around 8th grade, you could say. And I think the story was actually interesting. The story got me hooked. I even got a bit creeped out by the story, honestly. Even though nowadays I don't really find it much creepy as I thought it was back then. But it's also nice how there's also a fan game of it too, and it shared like every perfect detail of what happened there, and that's another thing I liked. Unfortunately, after the game, after the RP part, nothing else happened. You can't like reset it or anything, or at least what Todd said after the RP part, nothing was shown in that fan game. But unfortunately, oh well. But it was interesting to actually interact with it, but sadly, there's no option for it. But basically, the story is interesting. There's many things I question about that person. Only the person has a name, so I can't just say a specific name.
There's no name.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna say that person. I'm surprised that he continued. I don't blame him if he's kind of curious. I'm playing through like a game that's actually like either like hacked or cursed.
Cartridge. I used cartridge.
Well, I used cartridge, but it turns out that cartridge is actually like
cursed.
Yeah, it's basically cursed, I guess you could say. Well, hacked, but either one. But if I were him, I'd possibly if I were to play a game like this, if I got like a random old game, and then basically it didn't like turn out exactly the way I see from other people, at least like the experience I was like, for example, if I wanted to play Super Mario Bros. 1 and I got a cartridge for it, and I hook it in, and it turns out that everything's all reversed and then just all creepy, I probably would not play it. No matter how curious I am, I just probably throw the game away. But overall, the story it's good. It's not perfect, but there's like some confusing parts of the story. Honestly, it's one of the most popular creepypasta stories out there. At this point, you should have at least heard it, even if you're not a creepypasta fan. You probably at least like heard the name before, Lost Silver. So yeah. So what were your thoughts on it?
I was gonna say I never actually played the ROM version, but I have seen YouTube videos of it. And to be honest, if you don't read the story and you watch it, it gets very confusing. To be honest, if you watch the gameplay before you read the story, you'll have no idea what's going on. The fan art to Lost Silver is amazing. There's a lot of good artists that draw really good images of Lost Silver, and even good cartridges that they even sell to locals. I must say, Lost Silver is actually one of the highly recommendable scary Pokemon creepypastas out there, next to Lavender Town Syndrome. The reason why this is scary is because second gen is one of the most... How highly ranked is second gen compared to first gen?
Most likely highly ranked, honestly, because second generation, it made a lot of things better, in my opinion, honestly. Like, they fixed majority of the mechanics, and basically got things a bit more balanced, and at least not glitchy as first generation. So you could say that Gen 2 is better than Gen 1, well, in my opinion, that is, but, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's mostly said from most people, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, for me, I have to say the story is pretty confusing, although if I were to play the game myself, like John did, but I couldn't hear any of the audio, I probably would be a little creeped out, but I think John is creeped out since he played through it and he suffered. For me, I haven't played it, but I need to play it to experience the full horror within it myself. But it...
Sorry. I was
gonna say, like, when you read it and then you think about it, it's kind of confusing. But I want to say if you look at the fan art, you'll get a better, clear understanding about what's going on. And then I realized, now I get it. It's weird because the fan art makes the story more clear.
Yeah, it basically does. And also I need to point out, during the gameplay, it's not like horrifyingly scary if you actually play the game yourself. All it is just basically you're just moving like in a linear area, and there's no jump scare or thing, which I'm actually really glad. Honestly, there's like no freaking loud lady screaming that will like hurt your ears and then just jump scare you. It's really linear, honestly, and the only weird part is just the sound effects that's having in the background. That's it, and then just a weirdly placed music. But overall, the game.
Like the intention of the game, like in every Pokemon game, the trainer is you.
Yeah.
And the scariest thing is realizing that you're that trainer, and whatever is happening in the game, might happen to you. So it's kind of creepy for the player that was playing the game to say that he's dead, and that all his Pokemon, are dead because of the unknown. Although I'm not too sure about how, like, the unknowns are part of the story, but it does make sense for, like, certain letters that appear on the screen, because text and dialogue within Lost Silver, like, doesn't make a clear message, but the unknown letters makes it more convincing, and that is probably why Lost Silver is more scarier than it's decent, but I would have to say that Buried Alive is a little bit more creepier, but Lost Silver is really decent in the highly scary Pokemon creepypasta stories out there. So yeah, that's my opinion.
So I believe that's all we gotta say. Lost Silver, it's not that scary. You can give it a read yourself if you really want. I think Todd just basically like sum it up a little bit in some certain parts, but he read, I guess, majority of the part of the story there. But if you want to give this a shot, then feel free. I'll leave a link down link in the description below. You're not missing out too much here. I couldn't talk to NPCs or anything like Todd said. There's nothing you can really do. All you do is just move and select stuff. The battling, you don't really do much of battling. You just like press A basically, and that's it. There's like nothing much you can do, but yeah, it's still recommended. It's well fitting if you play the game and read the story at the same time. It'll make much more sense, honestly. But yeah, I hope you guys truly enjoy this video. Hope you guys enjoy the story. Let me know what your thoughts are on the story of Lost Silver. Hope you have a happy Halloween. And then also, another creepypasta game I got in mind is Sonic.exe. So stay tuned for that. It will come soon as well. Well, anyways, we'll see you guys next time. Adios.
Don't forget to leave a link to the story in the description along with the ROM download.
Oh yeah, that's right. I gotta leave a story too. How can I forget about that too? Yeah, but yeah. So, anyways, credits to the props to the person who actually took the time and effort to make the ROM, and also the person who wrote in the story. I don't know who wrote it, but it did a pretty decent job. But yeah. Anyways, happy Halloween, guys, and do not get attacked by clowns. Bye.
And I'm dead.